So I'm Brett Johnson, Mayor Ford's Chief of Staff, as he said. I also am an adjunct instructor at the college level. I teach Introduction to American Government. It's the only class that I teach, so the fundamentals of our United States system of government. So one thing I wanted to talk about today, there's another thing, two more things I want to tell you about myself. One is I am not a fan of taxes. In fact, I serve on the Etowah County Republican Executive Committee because I am not a fan of taxes. I also realize that I want police protection, fire protection, sanitation, and all the services that come with living in a municipality. So put that out there up front. So some basics about government. Everyone knows there's three branches of government, right? Legislative, judicial, executive. A lot of conversation doesn't get down to the next level, which is the three levels of government. That's because we're blessed to live in what we call a federalist system. That means that the federal government has its lane, the state government has its lane, and local governments have their lanes. So generally, national government's designed to create laws and rules that apply across the nation, to defend our nation, to promote welfare. Down to the state, they've left some rights for public education, to take care of business in that state based on that state's needs. And then, our state constitution allows for municipalities, cities, and counties who have the authority in their jurisdiction to do what the people in that community want them to do in that community based on their needs. That's how our system of government is structured. This bill, if passed, essentially does the reverse of what that federalist system government is designed to do. It takes power from the level of government closest to the people, the cities and the counties, and gives it to the state and says, we're going to make those decisions for you, not you, your mayor, and your council that live in your community and work with you and you see every day. So the next slide I want to talk to you about is the tax structure for other cities. A lot of people ask the question because, as Mayor Ford pointed out, we have an occupational tax in Gadsden. Not every city in the state or the nation does. What other ways do cities fund their municipal operations? Right here are the top sources of revenue for the largest 22 cities in the state of Alabama. Sales tax, that's what you all know about sales tax. Property taxes, taxes on your homes for the property value that's assessed. Fees, fines, and other, that's court fines, use fees, and there's a lot of stuff in that. Intergovernmental, which is effectively grants from the federal and state government, or shared revenue with other entities like counties. Business licenses, that's the barrier to entry as a business owner of operating a business every year in that community. You pay your business license fee. And then occupational taxes. On the left side of that screen is the average amount that cities in the state of Alabama depend on each source of revenue. On the right side of that screen, and this is a 2014 study, it may have tweaked just a little bit, is how the City of Gadsden in 2014 got its revenue. So because we have an occupational tax of 2%, we're able to keep property taxes in Etowah County, Gadsden, Southside, all those cities are in the same boat, the lowest in the state of Alabama. So it's very important to make that note. So on the next slide, as we talk about property taxes, Senator Jones has publicly in a recent news article stated that he thinks that could help as an option to replace lost occupational revenue. This is from the same study. It shows the ad valorem, which is property tax rates for these largest 22 cities in the state of Alabama. You can see that Gadsden is among the lowest, which I've just mentioned to you. What it doesn't show you, it shows we collect 15 mills, which is how they describe property tax rates. The City of Gadsden actually only keeps 9 mills of that. The other 6 mills goes to Gadsden City Schools. So we actually would put us down there at the bottom 3 or 4 if you're talking about what the City of Gadsden keeps for operations. To replace $15 million a year in revenue, we would have to go to 54 mills in property tax. As Mayor Ford mentioned, that would be the highest in the state of Alabama. And let me tell you right now, we don't have property values like Mountain Brook and Vestavia Hills. That would hurt. And I know y'all know that because I can see it on your faces. So the next thing I want to point to is the sheet that was in your chair when you got here, for those of you who have chairs. Sorry for those of you who are standing, but we have some extras in the back we can give you at the end. Breaking down what does it really mean to me as an individual, as an average person, if the occupational tax is removed in Gadsden? So the bill that was proposed last year by Senator Jones actually repealed the occupational tax over a 20-year period by 0.01% each year. So that would mean if the bill were passed today, next year, your occupational tax rate would be 1.9%. The year after that, your occupational tax rate would be 1.8%. The year after that, 1.7%, and it goes on and on and on for 20 years. Let me ask a question. Those of you who are in the room, how many of you are retired? Please raise your hand. Okay, how many of you plan to retire in the next 5 years? All right, keep your hand up. How many of you plan to retire in the next 10 years? How many of you plan to retire in the next 15? How many plan to retire in the next 20 years? Okay. So almost everybody in this room would be paying occupational tax for the remainder of your career under the proposed bill that Senator Jones had last year. I just wanted that to sink in. You can read that, and it explains the actual cost. The average is about $10 a week for the average household in Gadsden. And then we'll talk about the additional cost that will happen because of the decline in city revenue in Etowah County.